To control the size and placement of a map on a surface, you can add a UVW map modifier. UVs are the texture placement coordinates. So U is one dimension in texture space, and V is the other dimension. So you can imagine U being maybe the width and V being the height of your texture file. And in 3ds Max, there's also the W dimension, which is the distance away from the surface. But in practical terms, the W dimension never comes into play, and it's really just U and V, or the length and width of the texture. Let's add a UVW modifier to the ground plane here. Select that, go into the modifier list, scroll all the way to the bottom. You're looking for UVW map. You'll see there are a bunch of other options, including unwrap. We're not going to cover unwrapping in this course, but that's where you would go if you needed to adjust the UV coordinates on an individual basis. If you just want to project onto the surface, then you would choose UVW map. When you assign the UVW map modifier, it will be stretched to be the size of the object by default. And you'll see this orange outline. That's the UVW map modifier gizmo. Let me open that up. Go into the UVW map subobject modes by pressing the plus symbol and select gizmo. And now with the move tool, you can position the mapping. So I can move that gizmo around. You usually want to move it up and away from the surface. I can go to the front viewport, right-click in that front view, and then move that gizmo up just to offset it so that it's not directly on the surface. We can change the size. It's set to 500 centimeters in length and width right now because that was the size of the plane. I'm going to bring this down to 1 meter square, or 100 centimeters. 100, press tab, type in 100. And now you'll see the gizmo is much smaller. And the tiling here is much smaller as well. We've done this in the modifier. You can also change the tiling in the material, but you can't change the placement very effectively with the material. You can offset it left and right, but you can't, for example, rotate it. But with the UVW map modifier, we can. So I can grab the rotate tool and turn that gizmo so that now my map is at an angle relative to the surface. By the way, this is an infinitely tileable map that I created so that we could cover the entire surface. Cool, so that's basically all there is to it for a planar map. If you've got an object that's cylindrical or spherical, you can use these other mapping types. But the basic principle is the same. You can manipulate that gizmo in order to place the mapping wherever you want it. If you scroll down, you'll see that there are a few other little options that you can play with. For example, you can align to a different axis. You can fit the gizmo to the aspect ratio of a particular image and so on.